Welcome to Biztech's Malaysia Tech Ecosystems Conversation Show. Now, this is in conjunction with our partnership with the MBAN Summit 2023, which takes place on the 20th of September. Now, we feature the Malaysian Business Angels Network, or MBAN, which is the official trade association and governing body for angel investors and angel clubs in Malaysia. Now, to tell us more about this, we have Alan Lim, the president of MBAN and the principal advisor of Next Year Angels. And together with him is Tricia Francis, who is the executive director of MBAN. On that note, welcome to the show, Alan and Tricia.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. Good to see you again.
Now, Alan, for a start, could you give us an overview of MBAN and its history?
Sure. MBAN, we started about nine years ago today as the official association representing the angel investors in Malaysia. We started with the objective of developing, growing, as well as onboarding more angels investors in Malaysia so that they can take part in the investing in the startup ecosystem.
Now, so where are we at in terms of what your members are doing today? Could you give us a sense of, and you and Tricia can perhaps help us with this, how do the numbers stack up? How many active investors do you have? What's the total number of investors? What sort of ticket sizes do they invest in?
Sure, if I can just take that. As of to date, we have about 330 accredited angel investors in Malaysia. On top of that, we have about 30 corporate members with us as well. So both of them are accredited with us. So I think what is important here is that to define the word accreditation by the Malaysian Business Angel Network, MBAN. Being accredited means that you must qualify based on a minimum requirement. In this case, being a high net worth individual, where you have a minimum income, personal income of 180,000, with your spouse is 250, or if you can prove that you have a net worth of RM 3 million minus your house. So with that, you'll be qualified to be an angel members of MBAN. Okay. And we have 330 of them, yeah.
Okay, and then what sort of, say in the last 12 or 24 months, what sort of funds have been deployed by your various members into the startup ecosystem?
As far as the angels is concerned, yeah, Brian, there is a categories of angels investors in Malaysia, like the one that with MBAN, the kind of fund that the angels investors of ours deploys between 25,000 to 1, 2, or even 300. I've seen even ringgit 1 million per investment, in this case, per startups. And some of them do between 2 to 5 investment per year. So you are looking at that kind of total investment per year, right? But I mentioned earlier that there is a different category of it. So of course there is the other category that is in the ECF. They are angel investors and at ECF, there's 2 categories, retail and the angel investors. Retail investors in ECF, excuse me, they deploy between 2 to 10, 15,000 kind of range. But ECF also do have angel investors that deploy the 20 to 100,000 range as well. So that is another category altogether. I mentioned earlier, to give a right perspective, I mentioned earlier that we have 330 accredited angel investors, right? Yes. That is a category that invested between that 25 to 500,000 range. But do note that in the case of Malaysia, I do not have the exact number. If we were to combine together with the ECF, including the P2P space, you were to add it up together, I will presume in the case of Malaysia, we have a couple of thousand angel investors here.
And that's really grown over the last couple of years. But what's interesting that you just mentioned earlier also as part of your membership base is in our first conversation with Biztech started 3 years ago, you basically talked about attracting more corporate investors. Now, fast track 3 years later, you've got 30 members already. So that's impressive growth. Tell us about some of your corporate members and what sort of investments have they made so far?
I'm very excited about that. And on top of that, I must say that the corporate investors members that we have, they are of the blue chips. Blue chips, I'm talking about corporate members. Tricia chipping here with some of the names. Corporate members like Sangway Group.
Yeah, Nestle.
Hong Leong. Nestle, right?
Maxis, yeah. So we have quite a few of the corporate organizations that have come in. I think a lot of them at different stages when it comes to working with startups, right? So some of them are looking at the investment side of things, but some of them are also working with them on a hybrid sort of engagement where they are more looking at adoption of innovation, through their innovation arms. So it's not only, so I guess our work with MBAN when it comes to the corporates is not only from the investment perspective, but also to kind of engage corporates to work closely with the startups from an innovation perspective, right?
And I think one of your members you just mentioned, Sunway, epitomizes that approach, isn't it? There is a hybrid approach around investing, also value adding in terms of their own innovation, and also within their whole ecosystem itself to plug in some of these companies.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Right. Yeah. So I think Sunway is one example. And then, of course, Hong Leong Bank is another great example, and how, they have been working with startups as well and looking at both, accelerating the startups' growth, but also looking at how they could adopt the innovation. So we have many examples of that, and I think a lot of the corporates, like I said, they are all on different stages of their journey. Some of them are a little bit more earlier, so they are kind of dabbling with how do I get started? But some of them are a little bit at a later stage, like Sunway and Hong Leong, right? And, we find ways within our modules or the programs that we run to support the corporate organizations at the various stages that they are in. Yeah.
And really, and I want to pose this question to Alan. This has also been accelerated by the fact that Malaysian government has now given incentives in terms of tax incentives, just like angel investment, in order for the corporates to basically dive into this whole investment space.
Exactly. And in fact, if I could put out a number, that is 20 million tax write back in a year on the investment that's been done by the corporates. Of course, one of the qualifications is that they need to have the CVC, Corporate Venture Capital Arm, which need to be set up to do that. So yeah, you are absolutely right. Government is playing a pivotal role in helping to smooth as well as encourage corporate participation in this startup ecosystem. It's something that I really encourage as well.
Now, Alan, I want to now put your lens on from a Malaysian ecosystem perspective. Now, when we last spoke 18 months ago together with Dr. Siva, it was a point where we were just coming out of the pandemic. The situation was very bullish in 2021 in terms of funding for startups and so forth. But that's changed a lot in the last 18 months. perhaps you could give us an overview of what the scene is like today.
Yes, I think first of all, let's talk about during the pandemic period. Startups are the beneficiary of the pandemic period, the MCO, the lockdown, because of the tech they deploys. So they were able. They were the beneficiary. Actually, they were the one that benefiting from it. And because of that, if you were to do a study on the valuation of the startups during the pandemic period, they went off the roof.
Yep.
But after the pandemic, that is when the valuations start to moderate, and coming down to so looking from that particular angle, I just want to set the scene so that we get it right that during the pandemic, in fact, it was a more bullish period as compared to the last 18 months. But due to the what happened during the pandemic period, that bullishness has sort of carried forward till today. So you are absolutely right. Startup ecosystem is buzzing in Malaysia. Today, I'm estimating we have about 1,000 to 2,000 startups set it up and get going almost every year. So that is how bullish and how exciting this particular space is right now. Yeah.
So if I could add to that, right, Brian? So I think there's also a few other interesting developments when it comes to the ecosystem. I think the first thing is of late, I've noticed that there's a lot more growing interest by high net worth individuals to get started on this startup investing journey, right? So that was like the first thing that I noticed of late, because we get a lot of inquiries coming in. The other key thing is I noticed that post the pandemic, right, a lot of state-based agencies have started to play a more proactive role in developing their own state-based ecosystems, right? So that's really interesting for us because, in fact, for us at MBAN, we have established like the MBAN Sarawak and the MBAN Penang, and it was really state-based initiatives that were driven. And then we came in to partner to support the growth of the ecosystem. So that's the other thing that I think has really changed very fast over the past 18 months. And in fact, we have a few other states that are coming to us and saying they want to set up an MBAN there as well. And the other thing is, post the pandemic, the past 18 months, the amount of corporates that have now started to really emphasize this need for agility, to innovate, has increased tremendously, right? So I think those, for me, I was not in that interview, but if I look back at the past 18 months, that would be my three main things that I see in the ecosystem. Yeah.
Now I think that is very, very encouraging from not only from an entrepreneur lens, which I look at it, but really from a macro lens as well, because we tend to be very focused on the Klang Valley and then Penang and then perhaps Johor. And it's really good, especially to hear that some people, the states of Sarawak in particular, which is very dynamic. We're having the WICT there, I think, quite soon. So they are all basically engaging not only their high net worth individuals, but also their startups, because there is a lot of money in Malaysia. There is, whether people like it or not, there is a lot of money everywhere in Malaysia. It's just that they're not tapped beyond the Klang Valley so much.
I like the way you put it. That's a lot of money, no question about it. There's a lot of money that the states like Sarawak, Penang, or other states. The question is where they put it, right? And as of right now, very little from those states they are putting into the startup space. So I think, yeah, You know, through the work that we are going to do with Sarawak WCIT, Penang, we are going to work with them on the hard tech accelerator programs. We hope, we can take this down to the states level instead of just focusing here in the FT federal territory, so that we can reach out to the entrepreneurs or the startups, in every corner of Malaysia. After all, nobody can say that entrepreneurs are born in the central region, right?
Exactly.
They can be from anywhere.
In my mind, I think of Kelantanese people and being very entrepreneurial. I think probably we're not even scratching the surface in terms of the tech entrepreneurship potential of states like Kelantan.
Yeah, and what about the electronic space in Penang, agriculture in Sarawak, kind of things. So when we spread our wing down to the states level, that's what we are looking at.
Now, I want to zoom in then on the upcoming MBAN Summit 2023. Tricia, perhaps you can start by giving us an overview of the conference and what should we be looking out for this year?
Yeah, so this is an overview. I think we're very proud of the MBAN Summit because it is an industry-led conference. So the conversations that we have on stage really is relevant to all investors, right? Be it the corporates as well as the individuals. The conference is designed to make sure that every individual that attends the conference has something to take away with them, right? So I think that's something that we keep at the back of our heads when we design the conference.
And so, can I interrupt you here? Through my lens, I have several lenses. One is I should attend as an entrepreneur to network with potential investors.
Yeah.
Two, I need to come in as an angel investor also, because I need to learn, and I need to network and learn from my peers who have already been investing, and also, of course, to meet potential entrepreneurs that I could invest in. So who else are you targeting besides those two key groups?
The corporate organizations, that's also a key target for the conference, right? Because we are, trying, since 2018, our focus has been engaging more corporates to get them started on this early stage investing. And so corporates will be a big component to the summit. And I think as they are increasing their involvement and engagement in the startup ecosystem, it is very relevant. And I think the startups themselves know this. So they're all going to be attending the conference because it is going to be, like I said, industry-led. So we're going to be having a lot of leaders from the industry who are going to be sharing about how early stage working with early stage startups looks like, right? So it is the in practice.
Okay, and who are these? Maybe you can share some names of thought leaders that are going to be speaking at this conference.
So we have the Chief Innovation Officer from Hong Leong Bank, who's going to be giving a keynote. And why they are interesting is because they work with startups very closely, and they were the first public-private partnerships in Malaysia in 2015 when it came to the startup ecosystem, right? So they are going to be talking about their work in the startup ecosystem and how they're looking forward to work with startups in the future. So I think, so that's one person that we have on stage. We, of course, also have a few panel discussions, which will feature a few key leaders. So we have the Naked Truth on startup investing. So we will have Ben Lun from Nexia. So obviously Nexia is the leading angel club in Malaysia. So they are going to be on that panel. We will also be having Dr. Sharil Tamizi, who's a serial investor himself, right? Who's going to be on that panel. And then we have the pitch session that's going to be taking place later in the day on the summit, which will be featuring 6 startups from Malaysia. We're also going to make sure that we have representations from Penang as well as Sarawak during the pitch, right? To showcase some of the innovations from those states.
Okay, so the key message there is if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a potential angel investor, or you're already quietly investing, this is a summit on the 20th of September that you must be attending. Alan, now post-event, what are your plans for MBAN for the rest of 2023 and 2024?
Wow, we have quite a bit set up for the balance of the year. As it is right now, we are extremely busy with the earlier that what Tricia mentioned, the setting out of the local chapter in Penang and Sarawak. So we have quite a bit of work that we will take down to the state level to get it done. Other than that, we have an AGM coming out soon that will keep us busy. But as usual, we will be continuously, which is our main aim as MBAN, and that is to continuously do our education, awareness building programs on how to encourage more angel investors and corporates to participate in this startup investing ecosystem. So yeah, we got our work cut out for the rest of the year. In fact, next year as well.
On that note, Alan and Tricia, thank you very much for taking your time to be on the show.
Hey, Brian, thank you. Thanks a lot. Good to see you again after the last couple of years.
Yep.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, really appreciate it. Yeah.
I'm Brian Fernandez, and we've been speaking to Alan Lim, President of MBAN and Principal Advisor at Nexia Angels, as well as Tricia Francis, Executive Director of MBAN. And this has been Biztech's Malaysian Tech Ecosystems Conversation Show. This conversation is part of our partnership with the MBAN Summit 2023, which takes place on the 20th of September. This interview will also be on our website, www.biztech.asia, as well as our syndication partners, TV stations, radio stations, and websites. Thanks a lot for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you.